What's up, ladybots and gentle droids? I am Dylan, the TechnoGiz guy, and today we're making an OnlyFans for Jesus. Okay, we're not actually making an OnlyFans. I thought that joke was funny. I really hope I don't get smited for that. OnlyFans is disgusting and vile. What we are actually going to be doing today is we are going to be investigating this very budget PTZ camera that I found on Amazon to see if it serves a good purpose for my church, but if it does, I think it will also serve a really good purpose in any video production suite or a school or an auditorium environment or an event, anywhere where you might need a good quality PTZ camera and you don't want to break the bank because these things can be expensive. So let's go over to the bench, unbox this thing, get familiar with it, and let's see if it's worth the money that I paid for it. All right, so we're at the bench. I have the camera here. So right off the bat, we have a remote, which is nice to see actually, because maybe that means I can just get away with using the HDMI, because at the church there's already an HDMI cable running to the computer area because we had a projector before we had TVs in the church. So I'm kind of hoping that I can mount this where the projector is and use the HDMI cable. So the remote, I like seeing. What else we got in here? We got a power cable, standard little power cable here. And this wall adapter, it's a 12 volt, 2.5 amp wall adapter, 30 watt, so not too bad, not too shabby. And then we get a serial cable, which is kind of nice to see because this camera does have serial control if you want. We have the user manual, which I of course am not going to read. So this is the mounting bracket. Here's a bunch of little screws and mounting hardware. Ooh. Okay, and then it's just the camera. It's well protected, and there's a little cover on it. So, you can see the camera lens there, and I'll show this one here. And then on the back, we've got RS-232 in, we've got RS-232 out, we've got an Ethernet port, an HDMI port, USB, power, is that one? Audio, we have dedicated audio, that's nice, and then an SDI. A lot of different options on this guy. Doesn't seem super hard to move. I guess the way to test this is gonna be I'm gonna need to set a monitor up in here and hook this up. Give me a minute. I got the camera hooked up here. I am not seeing anything on it yet from the HDMI. Oh, it's moving. Okay. Is there batteries on the remote? No. Ooh, okay. Hang on, let me not aim this at my crotch here. All right, so let me grab this camera quick. Okay, so you can see here, it is working. I mean, la, 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 la. Very little latency, and it looks decent in here. I gotta go get some AAAs for the remote. Our remote has batteries in it. Oh, look at that! All right, so I'm gonna try to hold my camera here while I show you guys this. Look at that. Can I zoom out? No. Okay, so it looks like it has about a 37 millimeter equivalent, and my super scientific method for figuring that out was to hold my camera and zoom in until the frame looked somewhat similar. So far, I like it, but I'm gonna have to play with this a little bit. Okay, so this is seemingly working. Ooh, I can change the iris settings. I can manually set the focus. So I have been messing with the camera for a few days. I had to build a couple things for it, but I think it's gonna serve the church well. So I want to bring you guys over to the computer quick. Okay, so you guys can see here on the computer, I built this app with some AI help because the only way to really control the camera from PTZ is with the remote, which the remote works, but it's IR and not RF. And the camera does not have full 360 motion, so the IR would have to be pointed away from where the sound booth is in our church. So I don't want to rely on IR. It's a nice backup, but it's not something I want to rely on. The alternative is you can use the network port, which there is a web interface for the camera. It's very basic, but it works. That being said, I don't have Cat 6 where we are mounting this camera, and I really don't feel like running it. So network was kind of out as well. I think over SDI, the protocol that looks like a BNC connector, I think you can use PTZ over that. I don't know, because I don't have any SDI equipment. I don't have any experience with it, and neither does my church. So I have no idea if you can control PTZ with that. The other option that you have with this camera is serial. This camera supports the Visca protocol by default over RS-232, or if you switch it to RS-485, you can get the Pelco PTZ format. So all I had to do was look up Visca's PTZ format trigger, and I was able to throw this web UI together. This app is really basic, and I'll have it linked. It's in my GitHub. Basically, it's just a simple PTZ controller. You tell it to use a serial controller. I found a serial server. Normally I would use a Moxa or Comtrol device because those are the devices I know well from work. I actually found one that we had that we're not going to use because my boss bought it for testing, but it's from a Chinese company and we don't trust it, so we're not going to use it. I brought it home and it supports Wi-Fi, which is really cool because, again, I don't have Ethernet where I'm mounting this camera at the church. I don't want to run it. So I can connect to this guy, this serial server, and I'll get a better close-up of this in a bit, but I can connect this to the church's Wi-Fi, and then we can use the software to talk to it, and it sends the serial commands. Now, one of the nice things was the camera came with its serial cable. So that was really nice. I didn't have to make one up. I didn't have to figure out the pinout. It came with the cable I needed. Before I show you guys more of the software, I want to talk about the review part of this. I think the camera will serve our function, but there is some things you should know. The web UI is very basic. It's not bad, but it is very basic, and not everything is very well labeled. I could not get RTSP to work. So RTSP is a protocol that many cameras support to try to stream it over the network. I was trying to test that here in my environment to see if using it over the network would be a more viable option, because if PTZ and video would work over the network, for me at least, I probably would have went through the effort of running a Cat 6. So yeah, I could not get RTSP to work. I don't know why. I followed the guide, I read the manual, looked around on Google. Someone smarter than me might be able to figure it out. I could not get it to work, but that's okay. Editor note here. I noticed while the camera was on my network, it actually automatically flagged OnVIF because my Unify Protect system was trying to adopt it as a camera. So that's also a cool feature if you're going to look into this camera. You could potentially use it as a security camera as well over OnVIF. The other thing, though, that would have made this really nice is, and I didn't know this when I bought it, the network port that is on this camera is a PoE port. So if you hook it to a PoE compatible switch or an injector, you don't need a power cable. I did test that. It works. That is pretty great. So if you could get the RTSP to work, with one cable, Cat 6, you could get video, you could get PTZ, and you get power. That's pretty good. Again, I couldn't get RTSP to work, so that kind of fell on its face. But the PoE did work, so that is a nice thing to see. And I'm not saying that RTSP will never work, just saying I could not get it to work in my couple of days worth of testing, and I gave up on it because we already have an HDMI cable. The audio port that is on the back is an input, not an output. So I think when I was unboxing it, I said it was an audio out. It's not, it's an audio input. I'm not sure if there were some weird settings that I had to mess with, but HDMI seemed to look ever so slightly better to my eye than USB did. And I'm not saying that either of them looked bad. They both looked great, but I feel like the HDMI had a little bit better color reproduction. That's just my opinion. I had them side by side on my desktop here. I think the HDMI looked better than the USB. So if you want to use USB, keep that in mind, but you could probably tweak it with settings both on the computer and on the camera and get it to be exactly the same. It pans pretty quick and it's very quiet. I don't hear it. It makes a very slight little like whirring noise when it's panning, but it's not annoying. It's not loud. If you're more than about 2 feet away, you're not going to hear it. I said earlier it doesn't do a full 360 degree of motion. I would say, and I didn't measure this, and I'm sure the website says it somewhere, and I will make sure I correct it somewhere on screen. So when it's fully zoomed out, it's roughly equivalent to about a 35mm lens. Now, here's the caveat with that. I did not do any kind of scientific testing for that. I literally held this camera, which is a Sony ZV-E10 Mark II, which has a 1.5 times crop factor. So take this with a grain of salt, but with the lens that I have on here, I put it at about 35 to 37mm, and I was getting right about the same shot as this camera fully zoomed out. So if you want to kind of do the math on that, I'm going to have real world stuff to show you guys what this looks like, because in a minute we're going to go to the church and actually install it. It has the SDI support, so if you're already a bigger church or you're already a bigger production and you have SDI and the controllers for all that, this has it. It works, so if that floats your boat, it's there. The zoom is optical, not digital. That was really nice to see. And you can actually see the lens housing move inside when you go to zoom in and out. Very nice, good to see it. I do not like digital zoom because even the best digital zoom will get beaten by the most mediocre optical zoom. And then to finish off the kind of review section of this, it has a standard 3/4 mount tripod screw on the bottom, so you can mount it to any tripod. In fact, I have a ceiling mounted tripod apparatus that we're going to be installing at the church. I hooked it up to my capture card that I use for my gaming computer, so you guys can see the camera here. And if I just kind of come over here, so you guys can see the screen now. So if I hit home, see the camera moves. And I can hit 1, I can hit 2, and there's my bald head, hello. I can hit 3, which is going to try to zoom in on the flag over there. I had all this lined up, but I kind of moved everything because I was getting ready to leave, and then I remembered I had to film this part of the video. We can go to 4. Looks at my little band plan there, and then 5 pans around and looks at my computer. So the script works. I mean, there's nothing really else you would need here. The webhooks do work. I'll show you guys that at the church, but yeah, I mean, for what I paid for the $320 that this camera cost, plus I think like a $40 mount, I'm very impressed. So let's head over to the church. Let's get it up, installed, and actually see if it's gonna do what we need or if I'm still gonna be sending it back to Amazon. The real person that I have to impress is my pastor. If she's not happy, then all this was for nothing. Okay. So I do not have any way of actually viewing the screen other than the little tiny screen on my camera. Normally I use my iPad, but I didn't bring it with me and I'm gonna be doing work. So I hope everything's in focus. I have the camera set to autofocus. Everything should be as good as I can at least get it. If we come over here, here's the projector that we have, and you can see we have TVs. I helped them mount these and get them all set up. Grab my box of goodies and kind of bring it over here. Before I even pull the camera out, I'm just gonna start getting this projector down. I'm gonna try to get all this out of here without dropping the projector. Is that PVC pipe? I just wanna note that this projector is currently being held up with a metal bracket, and then it's what looks like zip tied to PVC pipe. Are these anchors or are these? Okay, projector is down. What's also not ideal is I have no idea how to get into the attic of this place, and I might need to. And I was really trying to avoid that, so please tell me there's a better attic access. There's not. Still recording? Okay. So I just went and did a little search quick. I found the attic access. I hope I don't have to use it because it's terrible. It's like this big. So we're gonna see what we can do. I did find the HDMI cord that runs over to the computer. Since it used to be an output, I had to find it in the rat's nest of cables. I found it, plugged it into the capture cards. This is the arm that I bought. It's basically just a little like tripod arm that will hang from the ceiling and hold the camera. And over here, it's got a 1/4, 20, and a whatever the bigger one is. What I need to do is figure out how I want to get this situated. He had a hole here, but I don't think that that is going to work. So I didn't actually have to get in the attic. I checked it out. It won't be terrible, although I would like an 8-foot ladder, not a 6-foot. However, here's a great advertisement for the LTT screwdriver. The toggle bolts that were stuck in the ceiling, I just stuck this up there and grabbed it and pulled it out through the hole because they're magnetic. LTTstore.com, I guess. It did it. I got both out. So now I can actually see what I want to do about mounting this. Hang on a minute. This ain't even a freaking toggle bolt. What was that screwed into? Okay, so that's literally screwed into the wood, and then the other one's a toggle bolt. I'm not sure why there was 2 toggle bolt things up there. Now we can at least kind of make a game plan here. So, kind of what I'm thinking is a little something we gotta line up with this, because that's one of our good holes. Oh wow, the other one lines up perfectly with that hole. So that's something. We got it up at least. It's not secure yet, but we can worry about that in a second. What doesn't help right now is that the ceiling in here is like that really old textured material, and it kind of sucks to work with, but we're gonna get through it. If you've never used toggle bolts before, basically they're designed to be able to kind of go and bend. I'll show you guys real quick on the camera. If you've never used these toggle bolts, they're a lot like drywall anchors, except in my opinion, they're a little bit better than the drywall anchors, because I've had so many drywall anchors just come out because you just screw them into the drywall material, or in this case, plaster. What these guys do is you can either screw them on from the top and they grip and kind of make a little more surface area, and because they go on the back side, they're not actually drilling up in. The other way you can get these on is they fold. So you fold it, you stick it up into your hole. Nice. And then you let it expand with its spring, and then hopefully tighten it down and it stays. I have this here. I'm gonna try to fold it up and stick it in the hole, and it went right in. Nice. Should I not make that kind of joke in church? Get that tight, and then I'm gonna try to put pressure on the screw while I screw it in. So what I'm doing is the washer that this screw had, I'm holding down on it and screwing the screw itself in. And hopefully what that is doing is, instead of spinning the thing, it's gonna screw this in. And I don't think it's doing that. All right, so new plan. I'm gonna try to tighten down this toggle bolt one. So I kind of gotta take this other one out. I don't wanna pull too hard because this is a plaster ceiling and I don't wanna break it. But with me able to put more friction on this, it is actually screwing in now. And I'm just gonna get it to a point where it's a little uncomfortable for my finger to be here, and then try to screw it in the rest of the way. So now that that's in and kind of tight, I can put this screw back in. It's not moving. So I got the camera here. You guys have already seen this, but on the bottom here, there is that 1/4-20 thread. Just gonna thread this guy in and we can put the camera up. This is going great already. Honestly, God has blessed me because I didn't have to get into the attic. I don't like attic work. It's why I work in IT and not install.
It was at this moment he knew he fucked up.
And get this all low and stuff. Plug the HDMI in. I took the lens cap off this camera. Now we gotta get power and the serial controller all set up so that way this will all work and talk. If you're wondering why it's empty, by the way, it's Friday night, there's no service tonight. I got the keys from my pastor so I could come do this work. She might even see this video, who knows? I don't think she knows I have a YouTube channel, but this is the one for the Moxa, so I'm gonna plug it in. I keep calling the device a Moxa. That's just because I use that term at work, and those are the most common brand we use. It's just a serial server RS-232 controller. All things considered, honestly, this couldn't be going any better, which kind of tells me that I might be getting set up for something worse. I'm just gonna mount the serial server on one of the screws that are already here. Oh no, these are too small. I have to pull the whole thing out. So one of the things, I don't know if I mentioned this, but this camera actually has an RS-232 in and an out. So you can actually address these cameras in the settings and control multiple of them. So If you had a bigger church, obviously, as you guys can see, this church is not that big, so we don't really need multiple cameras. However, if you were in a bigger church that needed multiple cameras, one serial server, in theory, could run multiple cameras. Since there's a ton of holes in the ceiling, I'm just kind of being lazy and shoving the wires that are extra up in the holes because they're here anyway, so might as well make use of them, right? I am trying to make it semi look a little nice. Plug this guy in here. The nice thing with this HF2211, you can look these up and you'll find the documentation for them. They're very cheap on AliExpress and they work well. The one cool thing with it is it can be set up to make a Wi-Fi hotspot. So I'll be able to connect to this on my laptop or phone and then join it to the actual Wi-Fi here. I'm gonna plug the camera in. Now the only thing I really got to do is figure out how to manage the cables a little bit better. For this power cable here, I'm just going to shove this up into this hole because it's convenient and it's here. That is not going to work too well for the brick though. Actually, maybe it will. All right, that actually doesn't look too bad. The camera is up, so now we actually have to do the fun part of getting it to work in the church. Remote works. I just want to check something real quick. We're here in the booth. I don't have the camera in here because there's not a whole lot of space in the booth. Gonna log in. So for some reason I don't see the camera. Did I grab the wrong cable? Unlikely. Is it an OBS issue? Okay, so we're running into the first problem. The camera doesn't seem to be showing up over here. So I'm gonna go over there and check and see if the connection's loose or something. Now see, this is kind of what I was worried about. While I know this worked at my house, all of my displays are 4K, my TV is 4K, and even my capture card, which is a very similar capture card to the one we're using here, is also 4K capable. This one, I don't think it is. However, that shouldn't matter because this camera is only doing 1080p. Well, shit. Just to see if I am crazy, okay, so I need to see if it's the cable. I'm still not getting any video, so I need to see if it's the cable. So what I'm gonna do is, we have these wireless transmitters to get the TV to work. I'm just gonna nab it for a second and use it over there. Okay, so still have nothing, but when I use the wireless transmitter to the TVs, I can see the camera. I just hooked my phone up to the HDMI cable and set it to mirror, and I see nothing. Which leads me to believe that is a directional cable, which means I'm gonna have to re-pull it. But if it's not zip tied, I might be able to just tie a string on, pull it down, and then send it back. I'm gonna have to go home and get string. I was truly hoping to avoid having to run cable or re-pull a cable, because I have no idea if this cable is zip tied or not. I'm hoping that when the guy I know ran it like 20 years ago, I'm hoping that he just ran it in the attic and tucked it down. That's my hope. Am I gonna get that lucky? I highly doubt it. Because of that, I'm gonna shift focus to getting the PTZ controlling app on this computer, because that's something I can take care of now. So here's the news. I finally did the test. I hooked my KVM switch that I have up that hooks to my laptop on that end, and I hooked my phone up on this end where the computer is. It is in fact a one-way cable. So I'm probably gonna have to come back tomorrow and rerun it. I might not film that part, but what I can show you guys, I have you guys zoomed in on the camera here. And if I go to the Stream Deck, I can hit different buttons, and I don't know if you guys will actually be able to see that, but I hope you can see the camera moving, because it is moving, so it does work, and it does display the video. So it works. What I did was I set the script up to run Docker, or run inside of Docker, because I didn't want to have to install Node.js and all that other stuff, all the other dependencies to this computer. So I packaged it as a Docker container, and I just installed Docker Desktop. It works great. So that will make it auto run with the computer, which is what I want. And I already set the Stream Deck up. Probably set the serial server to have a static IP so it never changes because it is on Wi-Fi. But other than that, in concept, this works. The problem now is just when they ran this cable, they ran a directional cable, which it makes sense. A lot of the longer HDMI cables are directional. So yeah, gonna have to either rerun that. I'm gonna have to get up into the attic tomorrow and just see how hard this is gonna be. But I need a taller ladder and I wanna wear some long sleeves if I'm gonna get up in the attic because there's insulation up there. But I mean, this does work. Had them up. I had the camera up on the TVs earlier with the wireless dongle. It tracks really good. It literally covers the whole stage. So I think my pastor is gonna be happy when I get it working. But for right now, that's it. So we will see if this video comes back tomorrow. It might not, because I don't really want to take my camera with me into the attic. That would be annoying. I don't have my camera or my nice mic, but I got the cable all reran. I still got to put the plate back on over here. I still got to vacuum up, but the cable is reversed and now we have video. And since I have the buttons over here, if you guys watch, we can quickly go through some different presets that I have set. And then I also added some buttons that send commands. So that way, like if we want to move something custom, we can. I don't know why we would ever want to look at the stairs, but we could zoom in on it. I also set the camera to go to preset 1, which is this preset, whenever it loses power. So if the power goes out, it will come back up and just go back to this position instead of its home position, which is slightly higher. So if I go into here, I can show you the home position. So you can see the home position is just a little too high. All in all, I'm really happy with it. It looks great. It zooms in, again, optically. So, sorry guys, by the way, I'm filthy. I've been crawling around in the attic, sweating. It's a nice day, actually. So I'm gonna go do some other stuff too. But yeah, so for the 330 bucks I paid for the camera, plus I think 40 bucks for the mount from the ceiling, I'm super impressed. If you guys are looking for something to do with your church, or your church is looking to upgrade your video, or you just want the video for yourself, honestly, I kind of want one of these for myself. I would recommend it. It works great. So we're gonna go back to my office and my desk, wrap this video up, and send you guys on your merry way. All right, guys, that's the video. I'm actually filming this outro after we already had a service, because when you saw me last, it was Saturday, and the next day we had Sunday service. Not only did my pastor love the camera, everyone else loved it too, and it absolutely made our live stream and video that we are now getting into doing for the sermons, it made them so much better. Before, we were using this Canon R700 or something like that, and it was just mounted on the back of the sound booth, and it was kind of terrible. So I'm really glad that we have a good method now to see the whole stage, whether they're doing a sermon or someone's on the piano, or she's been talking about, you know, starting choir back up, which I'm not a part of. I can't sing, and it will never happen. But you know, the camera can cover the whole stage. It can even rotate around and kind of see. I set it up to be able to see the door in case we want to have it set up for that. We actually even found a new use for it. Normally during service, when my pastor is giving her sermon, we shut the TVs off so they're not a distraction. I mirrored the OBS screen to the TVs, so everyone in the back was kind of able to see her a little bit better, as well as I was putting the verses that she was using in her sermon on the screen. So I personally thought it was a really good thing, and a lot of other people in the church seemed to enjoy it. For the price of $335 for the camera and $39.99 for that mount that I had, for just under 400 bucks, we got a really solid solution for our small church that could be expanded in the future. And if you're watching this and you want to use something like this for either your school or your event or your church, or like I said a little bit ago, I want one of these for myself. I think it would be really cool to have like a bench cam like I have over by my unboxing bench, but one that faces the workbench. And then I could have a controller where anything I'm doing on the workbench, the camera could zoom into it. I think that would be really cool. I don't know if I'm willing to spend the money right now, but maybe one day. The same company also makes higher quality ones. So if you want 4K, you can absolutely spend a little bit more money and get 4K. Their most expensive camera that I saw was only like 500 bucks. And if you're not aware of the PTZ camera space, that might sound like a lot of money. It's not. A lot of the name brand, recommended PTZ cameras that a lot of the big churches will get, they start around $2,000 or more. And even on the used market, they run about 1,200 bucks. My pastor was actually looking at a couple of used ones on eBay for about $1,000 when I told her, wait, let me try this. If I don't like it, we'll send it back to Amazon, whatever. But for the price, I'm super impressed with the camera. It looks good. It's got good quality. The web interface was basic, but sometimes basic is good. I couldn't get RTSP to work, but I'll be honest, I only spent about 10 minutes on it because I knew I wasn't going to run a network cable in the church. So for my personal use case, I just didn't care. Everything else about the camera has been great. I was easily able to write up a program to control the PTZ because it uses a standard off-the-shelf protocol. Actually, it uses 3 protocols off the shelf, but all 3 of those protocols are well documented, so it was very easy to write a program. I will have links in the description to the camera, the mount, as well as my GitHub for this PTZ controller. I'll also see if I can find a link for the exact serial server that I used. Any RS-232 serial server would work, and you can also just run a cable and plug it directly into a COM port on your machine. But I will try to have links for all that in the description. But yeah, I'm super impressed, and my tiny little church was super happy. I think really this would be a great option for small schools or private schools, or if you're a DJ or a wedding photographer / videographer and you want to kind of spice things up. It would not be hard to power this off of some kind of portable power station and either record locally to a device, or you could do something like the Unify edge devices that they have now that give you Ethernet, right? And they'll connect to Wi-Fi. And you could literally have like a server sitting in like a Pelican rack in a case, and you could record wirelessly from multiple cameras and be able to control them while you and your crew are running around, shooting, manually. So a lot of flexibility with these. And again, for the price, I don't think you're gonna beat it. For the quality and the price, I'm super impressed. So I would definitely recommend it if you guys are looking to upgrade your video work. Again, they have 4K options if you want 4K. I don't care, 1080p is fine for a live stream. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like. It helps out a lot. I know this was a different video from my normal style. Expect that a lot, because I've gotten a little tired of my style. I've grown stagnant, and also I really want to show more of the technical side, more of the actual process. Plus it gives me more room to make terrible jokes. So here we are. I am Dylan, the Technigiz guy. I will see you lovely lady bots and general droids in the next video, but until that time, please keep it peaceful.